Hi, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at Joe Biden's approval rating across all 50 states. We're going to see how he's doing as he prepares to leave office. So we've got two sources for this. We're going to take a look at Civiqs, but first we're going to start on everybody's favorite. It's Morning Consult, or maybe you prefer to call it Morning Consult. Either way, let's see how Joe's doing across all 50. He's got to be doing good somewhere, right? Well, the subheadline here is President Joe Biden's net approval rating is underwater in 45 states. So this data came out last week, but look at this map we've got here at the top. It's not the biggest, but you do see a lot of red on here. The red is where Biden's underwater. The green is where he's a net positive. The darker the shade, the more intense the rating. So we see the familiar pattern of the West Coast and much of the Northeast. They have a little bit more positive opinion of Biden. Those are mostly the blue states. And there's also going to be Illinois, Colorado, New Mexico, and Hawaii. Now, if you hover over any of these states, then you'll see the exact rating, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. But Biden is only positive in 5 of these states, and we're going to see how those 5 compare when we look at Civiqs in a few minutes. So under here it says the survey was conducted in September through November 2024 among a representative sample of registered voters in each state. The sample sizes and margins of error vary by state. Let's go down here. We'll look at the key takeaways real quick. But this is stuff we all pretty much know already. So Biden is underwater in 45 states. This marks a major shift from the start of his tenure when voters in just 18 states were more likely to disapprove than approve of his job performance. The Biden administration's messy withdrawal of the U.S. forces from Afghanistan in August 2021, punctuating a summer of rising prices and COVID-19 cases after the vaccine rollout, precipitated much of the decline in the president's popularity from which he has yet to recover. So for more than 3 years now, Biden's approval rating has been mired underwater. And after the unpopularity of pardoning his son Hunter and the fallout from Kamala Harris losing the election, I think Biden knows he has nothing to lose, so he's pretty much going to do whatever he wants. And for the most part, politicians are self-serving, also to the donors, and if there's any crumbs left over, then maybe the voters can get something. So it's a tough break there for Biden, but he does have a positive rating in 5 states: California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Vermont. Now let's take a look at the full list. So Vermont is his best state. He's at 55 approve, only 43 disapprove. That's a net 12% positive rating. Even the largest state, California, he's at a +2, 49-47. Then it just slips underwater with New York and Washington, where he's at 48 approve, 49 disapprove. So not too terrible there. He's pretty much even. And all these at the top are pretty much blue states, but the shades of blue do get a little bit lighter as you go down a little bit further. The highest approving state of Biden out here, and the first one that voted for Trump, is actually going to be Wisconsin. Biden is underwater there by 14 at 42-56. Then we plunge right into the red states, with the exception of New Hampshire, where Biden is only at a 40-58 rating. That's underwater by 18 points. The rest of all these states are going to be red enough, and that's where his popularity drops off a cliff, easily getting into the 30s. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you're going to see some of the reddest states. 7 states give Biden a less than 30% approval rating. Those are going to be South Dakota, Idaho, Arkansas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia, and the state where Biden is the absolute least popular. This is truly rock bottom stuff. He's only at 20% in Wyoming. 78% disapprove of him. If you do the math, he is in the red by 58 points. Now, I don't expect Biden to ever really be looking positive in any of these super red states, but 20% is something else. Now, once Trump gets into office, I think the approval ratings for the president are going to be vastly different than what we're looking at here. That's when the red states are going to be a lot higher and the blue states are going to be on the bottom. Now, there's always a chance something new happens, like potentially New Jersey. That was way closer of a margin in the election. Maybe Trump has flipped the script and he becomes more popular in some of these states we think of as blue. Anything is possible. I'm sure the honeymoon period will wear off, but if you go down here, you can look at the timeline during the Biden presidency for all 50 states. They're all right here in this drop-down box, and I've got Vermont up here because that's the state where Biden is at his most favorable. So back when Biden got into office, he was in the high 60s according to Vermont voters, but then by the end of the year, he did slide down to about a 50% rating. Since then, it's been up and down a little bit, only one time flipping into the red, and now it's back up to 55. So that's where Biden is at his absolute best. Now, what about on the other end? Let's look at Wyoming. So here when Biden got in, he was definitely more popular, but not by that much. He was at 30%, still 66% disapprove. And there's really nothing positive here for Biden. There was no dramatic drop-off, but he did manage to decline all the way to 14% in September 2023, and now he has recovered slightly. He's up to 20. And while we're in the W's, let's do the same thing for a key swing state. How about Wisconsin? This shows you a picture that is much more in line with what the national picture was. Biden came in with some modest favorability. That again, after the Afghanistan withdrawal, he became in the red. Since then, he's never recovered hovered, and he's kind of hovered around 40%, and now he's currently at 42. So there's some good comprehensive data here, but obviously Morning Consult, they do have some issues with some of their polling, most notably in the recent election. So feel free to give them an appropriate amount of criticism. But we're going to move on here to Civiqs, and they also poll every state, and this goes back to just a few days ago, and they have the total number of responses here. It's over 546,000, and it goes back to the start of Biden's term. But here's another map, and it will again show you the favorability rating in each state. Now the shading on this map is a little bit more favorable for Biden. It's not the dark red and the green. This one, the blue, indicates a positive rating, but there's not 5 states this time. There's only 4. California was positive with Morning Consult, but not here with Civiqs. And you could again hover over every state. And in California, Biden is underwater by 4. But on the other end, in Vermont, he's plus 10. It's again not as strong as Morning Consult, so it's good to compare data from different sources. Now, if we go down here just a little bit, they do break things down by different demographics, but that's not going to be the focus of this video. We'll take a look at that stuff when Biden leaves office. But after that, we've got each individual state, and you can see it's also pretty bleak here for Biden. There's also about 8 to 10% in each state that aren't really sure. But in the redder states, Biden is easily going to be into the 20s. In the bluer states, he does crack 40%. And on this, his best state is actually going to be Hawaii. At Morning Consult, he was only plus 5 there. Here he's plus 21, so that's a gigantic disparity. But if we keep going down, his worst state is again going to be Wyoming. The 19% favorable is similar to Morning Consult, where it was at 20. So in some sense, there's not really a whole lot to say about this. We get it. Biden is unpopular. Doesn't really matter if he's underwater by 10 or 20 in a couple of different states. He's on his way out. Do we really care about the details? It's not that significant, but it does give you an idea of where Biden is stronger and weaker, given everything that's happened over the past 4 years. And even though he's perceived to be unpopular in general nationally, different states do feel differently. As we scroll back up, there is one other thing we can do, but first, let's stop off here on Delaware. That's, of course, Biden's home state, but he is only at 36% favorable, 55% unfavorable. That's 19 points underwater. Compared to Morning Consult, he was only underwater by 3. So again, different sources, different data. But one key thing we could do, if we go all the way back up here to the map, on the left side, we can toggle on some of these filters. We've got age, education, gender, etc. But the one we're going to look at here is going to be the key subgroup of independents. If we do that, then Biden is absolutely massively underwater in every single state, including Hawaii. That was his best state overall, but now all of a sudden he's underwater by 28 points. But then if you go over here just a bit to Alaska, then Biden goes in the other direction. He's only underwater by 4 points there with independents. And in California, one of the bluest states, he's underwater by 51. That is gigantic. So that also goes to show you that independent voters in different states also may have their own unique political identities. There's definitely some interesting stuff here that I didn't even expect to find myself. So take a look at all that data if you'd like. And as always, all these links will be down below in the description. But as we finish up here, let's also just isolate it to Republicans. Not a surprise here, he is underwater, but the degree that he's underwater may be a little surprising for some. His approval rating here gets into the low single digits, and he's underwater by more than 95 points in most of these states. Even in Oregon, a fairly blue state, Biden's approval with Republicans is at less than 1%. That is a net approval rating of minus 98%. You really can't get any worse than that. But of course, that is just Republicans. How's Joe doing with his own party, the Democrats? Well, now the picture looks a lot rosier. This actually might make it look like he's quite popular. He's vastly above water here in every single state. Of course, that's probably what we'd expect from his own party or anybody's own party, but I think we can end it there on a high note for Biden. So a lot of good stuff here. I'm going to leave it there, so let me know in the comments. What do you think about Biden's approval rating in any of these individual states? How's he doing in your state? Is he underwater? Is he way underwater? Or does he happen to be above water in one of those short few states? And what about the data with independents? And how about Civiqs versus Morning Consult? Which one do you prefer? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.